Hello, horror fans. Welcome back to Real Talk Horror, your safe haven for all things spooky, chilling, and downright terrifying in cinema history. I'm your host, Josh, and here to guide you through the twisted corridors of today's featured film. And oh, do we have a good one for you today. We're continuing our John Carpenter deep dive, Phase 4, with the 1994 psychological horror masterpiece, In the Mouth of Madness. Now, Carpenter's always been a master of suspense and the macabre, but within the Mouth of Madness, he goes to a whole different level here. This is Carpenter at his most cerebral, blending the creeping dread of Lovecraftian horror and the disorienting terror of fractured reality. Imagine a world where fiction doesn't just inspire fear, it rewrites the very fabric of existence. It's that kind of wild ride. What makes this film so special, you ask? It's a fascinating turning point in Carpenter's career. By 1994, he'd already delivered some of the greatest horror classics ever. Halloween, The Thing, The Fog, Prince of Darkness, They Live, things we've already talked about, amazing films. But instead of coasting on his well-earned legacy, Carpenter decided to get experimental, push the boundaries with a film that dares to blur the line between reality and madness. So grab your flashlight, hold on to your sanity, and join me as we venture into the mind-bending chaos of In the Mouth of Madness. Trust me, this is gonna get weird. Let's dive in, shall we? Let's dig into the meat of this mind-bending tale. In the Mouth of Madness introduces us to John Trent, played brilliantly by Sam Neill. Trent is an insurance investigator, a man grounded in logic, facts, and numbers, who gets thrown into a case that's anything but logical. He's hired to track down Sutter Kane, a horror novelist who's gone missing. But Kane isn't just any author. His books have a sinister reputation. They don't just scare you, they have this creepy ability to drive readers insane. As Trent follows the trail, he's led to the eerie, seemingly fictional town of Hobbs End. But here's the kicker. Hobbs End shouldn't exist. It's straight out of one of Kane's novels. And from there, reality starts to come apart at the seams. Trent finds himself pulled into a nightmare where fiction and reality collide, and the more he tries to entangle the mystery, the more he questions his own sanity. This story is absolutely dripping with themes that Carpenter loves to sink his teeth into. Isolation, the fragility of the human mind, the creeping fear of losing control. It's also a sharp commentary on mass hysteria and the terrifying power of belief. What if what we believed, no matter how absurd, could manifest into reality? It's chilling to think about, especially in today's world of viral misinformation and conspiracy theories. And then there's the characters, starting with Sutter Kane himself, played by the always kinda creepy Jürgen Prochnow. Kane is more than just a man, he's a force of nature, an embodiment of chaos and the unknown. Prochnow's performance is unsettling. He's calm, sometimes even charming, but there's something deeply unnerving about him. It's like he knows something the rest of us can't even begin to comprehend. And of course, there's our protagonist, John Trent. Sam Neill is perfect in this role, capturing Trent's slow descent into madness with nuance and intensity. Trent starts as the skeptic, the voice of reason, but as the story unfolds, we watch his grip on reality slip, and it's both tragic and terrifying to witness. This film doesn't just tell a story, it creates this labyrinth. Each step deeper into the plot pulls you further into its world, until you're questioning, along with Trent, what's real and what's not. This is the kind of horror movie that'll stick with you and make you wonder, if you read Sutter Kane's books, would you survive the madness? Now let's pull back the curtain and explore what went into crafting this mind-bending nightmare. As always, John Carpenter brought his A-game and his signature multitasking genius. Not only did he direct this reality-warping horror flick, but he also composed the haunting score that sets the film's eerie tone. Carpenter has always been a master of doing more with less, and with a modest budget of only $8 million, he worked his magic once again. One of the standout elements here in the production is Carpenter's reliance, as typical, on practical effects. The grotesque creatures, the surreal landscapes of Hobbs End, and the unnerving visuals weren't just CGI wizardry. They were painstakingly crafted with tactile, old-school techniques. It's a hallmark of Carpenter's style, and that makes the horror feel tangible, as if it could reach out and grab you. Again, the casting spot on. Sam Neill was riding high after the blockbuster success of Jurassic Park just a year prior, and he brought an entirely different energy to In the Mouth of Madness. Neill delivers this tour de force performance, seamlessly transitioning from a hardened skeptic who relies on logic to a man unraveling in the face of unspeakable horror. His descent into madness is both gripping and deeply unsettling. And then there's Frances Bay as Mrs. Pickman. Don't let her sweet grandmother appearance fool you. Bay's performance is chilling. Her seamlessly harmless boarding house hides horrors that'll make your skin crawl, and her transformation is unforgettable. And let's talk about the visual effects, because they're simply stunning in their grotesque, otherworldly beauty. The design of the monsters, twisted Lovecraftian horrors, pushing the limits of practical effects. Hobbs End itself feels like a living, breathing character with its surreal, dreamlike quality. Every detail here is crafted to keep you disoriented and on edge. Despite all of its creativity and ambition, In the Mouth of Madness again struggled to find an audience when it first hit theaters. It grossed just $8.9 million, barely covering its budget, and critics were divided. Some praised its bold, cerebral approach, while others found it too complex and chaotic. But if you don't know by now, Carpenter's work is built to last. Over the decades, In the Mouth of Madness has found its audience and then some. Its reputation has grown into that of a bona fide psychological horror masterpiece, admired for its daring storytelling and its inventive visuals. This film is proof that sometimes the true measure of a film's success isn't the initial reception, but it's the enduring impact. Today, the film stands as a testament to Carpenter's vision and his ability to take risks, creating a horror experience that is as unforgettable as it is unnerving. If there's one thing you can count on in a John Carpenter film, it's his unmistakable touch, a blend of artistry and unease that stays with you. And In the Mouth of Madness, this is no exception. And it's dripping with Carpenter's signature style from start to finish. Starting with the pacing, this is another master Carpenter vision of the slow burn. This film showcases that beautifully, because the tension builds gradually, tightening like a noose around us as we follow Trent deeper and deeper into his descent into madness. Carpenter knows exactly when to let a scene breathe and when to deliver a gut punch, and it keeps us on edge every step of the way. And then there's the score. Carpenter and his synthesizer are back with making iconic sounds. But this film, the music, like everything else, is kind of alive. The haunting, repetitive motifs create a hypnotic effect, and it draws us into the madness. It's like the soundtrack isn't accompanying the story, it's telling us, it's pulling us into the same distorted reality as Trent. Visually, Carpenter uses every trick in his playbook to disorient and unsettle. His framing is tight and claustrophobic, making us feel like there is no escape. Sudden shifts in perspective mirror Trent's crumbling grasp on reality, while muted, almost washed out colors set the bleak tone. And just when you think you've adjusted, Carpenter throws in a shocking burst of light or gore, and it jolts you out of your sense of stability. But again, where Carpenter really shines is in his narrative style. He's never been one to spoon-feed answers, and in The Mouth of Madness really leans hard into ambiguity. The film doesn't tie everything up in a neat little bow. It leaves us questioning, guessing, and wondering what here is real and what was just fiction. This open-ended approach turns the movie into an experience, and it forces us to wrestle with the implications long after the screen goes dark. And the vision, the scene at the end of Sam Neill and his madness, you'll close your eyes and still see it. I'll just say that. Carpenter has always been a director who trusts his audience to meet him halfway, to think critically and engage with the layers of his work. In this film, he takes that to the next level, creating a story that isn't just about being watched, about being felt, wrestled with, and occasionally obsessed over. This is the kind of horror that gets under your skin, and it stays there and makes you think about it. Now, In the Mouth of Madness didn't get the recognition it deserved upon release, like so many of Carpenter's films. And like those films, it found its audiences over time. I'm one of the few that got to see it. I was 15 and saw it in the theater. I didn't get it. I had to wait till it came out on video and rush to Blockbuster and rent it again to really dig deep and watch it, to understand what was going on. But today, online, social media, it stands proudly as a cult classic. It's a movie that captivates horror enthusiasts. It inspires filmmakers with its unique blend of cerebral terror, visceral dread, and Lovecraftian horror. One of the film's reasons it has endured is its prescient commentary on the power of storytelling and belief. In a world that's dominated by viral content, memes, shared narratives, the idea that collective belief can shape reality or reshape reality feels relevant. Carpenter's exploration of how stories influence and manipulate the human psyche feel even more timely in an era where fiction and reality blur in unsettling ways. The film's influences have been seen in the work of directors like Guillermo del Toro and Jordan Peele, who both, as I mentioned in the past, cite Carpenter as key inspirations. Del Toro's fascination with Lovecraftian horror and Peele's mastery of mood and psychological tension both echo the lessons Carpenter teaches in the Mouth of Madness. The film's DNA is woven into the fabric of modern horror, and more than proving that Carpenter was a visionary way ahead of his time. And you can't forget the iconic moments that have solidified this film's place in the Horror Hall of Fame. That chilling line, "Have you read Sutter Kane?" has become shorthand for creeping madness and the power of fiction to consume us. The eerie, repetitive appearance of the bike rider, trapped in an endless loop, is a visual that sticks with you. I wake up not having watched the movie in more than 10 years, and I still think about that bike. Watch it again, so now it's refreshed, and I will never not think of that bike rider. And of course, the horrifying secrets of Hobbs End, revealed in shocking, grotesque detail, It cements that town as one of horror cinema's most memorable locations. These scenes and others are why In the Mouth of Madness continues to resonate. This isn't just a movie. It's an experience that seeps into your mind, makes you question the very fabric of reality, and that's a real legacy for this film. It doesn't just entertain. It haunts, provokes, and challenges us to think about the stories we tell ourselves and the worlds we create through belief. In that sense, it's pure Carpenter, timeless, unsettling, and absolutely impossible to forget. When In the Mouth of Madness first hit theaters in '94, it was met with mixed reviews. Critics and audiences alike seemed unsure what to make of its ambitious blending of psychological horror, Lovecraftian dread, and a meta-commentary on the power of storytelling. Meta wasn't really a thing we thought about yet. But this movie, and Wes Craven's New Nightmare around the same time, started to bring the idea of horror films in real life. Were brought to the power of storytelling. Some saw it as overly convoluted. Others dismissed it as a lesser entry in Carpenter's legendary career, because by this time, the love for his earlier films was starting to really grow and become a part of popular culture. But like many of his films, time has truly been kind. In the Mouth of Madness is a movie that rewards repeat viewings, where the layers of meaning reveal themselves the more you dig into its narrative and themes. Over the years, critics and audiences have reevaluated it, recognizing it as one of Carpenter's most daring and thought-provoking works. Today, this film is celebrated for its timeless exploration of madness, mass hysteria, and that frightening power of belief. These themes have only grown more relevant in our modern era, with social media and the misinformation that spreads like wildfire, and collective fears reshape our perception of reality. In a world where viral stories can spark global movements, Carpenter's cautionary tale feels like a chilling prophecy. The film's blending of high-concept horror with self-aware commentary was ahead of its time. It paved the way for contemporary horror films that challenge the boundaries of the genre, like The Babadook or Hereditary. Modern audiences now see In the Mouth of Madness not just as a horror film, but as an intellectual puzzle, a meditation on the power of storytelling and its ability to both unite and unravel us. Carpenter once again proved that his work has staying power. Even when initially misunderstood, his films find their audience, growing in stature as their deeper meaning becomes clear. In the Mouth of Madness is no exception. What was once dismissed is now heralded as a classic, an essential entry in Carpenter's oeuvre, and a film that feels more relevant and scarier with each passing year. One of the most unforgettable elements in the Mouth of Madness is when John Trent, the skeptical investigator, comes face to face with the horrifying truth. He isn't just a pawn in Sutter Kane's story. He's part of it. The scene where this realization dawns on Trent is the ultimate in psychological horror. The eerie, looping dialogue, paired with Sam Neill's unraveling, pulls us into this suffocating spiral of helplessness and existential dread. It's the kind of scene that lingers and sticks in your mind and makes you question your own grip on reality. And what truly sets this film apart in Carpenter's career is that unapologetic embrace of Lovecraftian horror. Carpenter doesn't merely dabble in the cosmic and incomprehensible. He dives headfirst into it, crafting a narrative where the terror lies not in what we can see, but in what we cannot comprehend. While The Thing masterfully explored paranoia and the threat of alien invasion, In the Mouth of Madness shifts the focus and the terror to the unknown, the fear that reality itself is not what it seems, and worse, that it can be rewritten by forces beyond our understanding. Carpenter's use of Lovecraftian elements elevates the film into something uniquely unsettling. The fragility of the human mind, the powerlessness of the individual against a greater cosmic force, and the idea that boundaries of reality are paper thin. All these themes are woven into a story that feels both intimate and vast. Sutter Kane isn't just a villain. He's an embodiment of chaos and the incomprehensible, a dark reflection of the human need to impose order on a disordered universe. And yet, what makes In the Mouth of Madness so captivating is its willingness to embrace ambiguity. We mentioned it before, but Carpenter doesn't spoon-feed answers or tidy resolutions. Instead, he invites us to immerse ourselves in the madness, to confront the possibility that fiction and reality may not be as separate as we want to believe. This narrative choice subverts genre expectations and creates an experience that's thought-provoking and terrifying. In the end, this film isn't just about Trent's descent into madness. It's about ours. It forces us to grapple with the unsettling question: if belief can reshape reality, how much of it what we perceive is real? Is this cerebral edge that makes In the Mouth of Madness not just a standout in Carpenter's filmography, but a horror classic that will continue to resonate with audiences who will dare to confront its chilling implications? So my thoughts. In the Mouth of Madness is a hauntingly cerebral addition to Carpenter's already legendary filmography. It won't boast the mainstream recognition of a Halloween or the groundbreaking legacy of The Thing. It carves out its own space as one of Carpenter's most ambitious and thought-provoking works. This film is a deep dive into the fragility of reality, the power of belief, and the unsettling idea that fiction can reshape the world around us. What makes In the Mouth of Madness truly remarkable is its ability to blend Carpenter's style, his mastery of atmosphere, tension, and haunting music with a narrative that feels both timeless and disturbingly relevant. It's not just a movie, it's a cerebral challenge, and it dares us to question what we know and believe. And let me tell you, if you watch this movie and you go to bed, you'll wake up and you will not be able to separate what was in the movie from the nightmare you had. That's how wound into this film you can be. Now, when I first thought about this before revisiting it, I thought, solid 7 out of 10 movie. After watching it, this is better than that. This is more than that. It's scarier than that. This is a 9 out of 10. It's inventive storytelling. It's unsettling visuals. The chilling performances, especially Sam Neill's unraveling into madness, that portrayal of John Trent, make it stand out in the psychological horror genre. This is not a crowd pleaser in the traditional sense. It is essential viewing for fans of horror that makes you think as much as it makes you squirm. Thank you so much for joining me on this descent into madness within the mouth of madness here on Real Talk Horror. Next episode, we'll dive headfirst into the cult and controversy and the chilling oddity that is Village of the Damned. You won't want to miss it. And if you enjoyed today's episode, take a moment to follow the podcast, rate it, review it. It helps us grow and helps build our community. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Threads at Real Talk, where you can share your thoughts on today's film, suggest future ones for us to dissect, and just join the community of horror lovers and film fans out there. Until next time, horror fans, remember, keep the lights on, the doors locked, and the madness at bay.